Hey, Sean,
Yeah.
when you take the stuff down to the board of elections, can you let me know so I can check it off on my calendar?
Plan on doing it this week.
Oh, okay, just
I'll
let me
let you know
know.
when it's done.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll be getting underway in about 10 seconds. Good evening and welcome to Defiance City Council meeting June 25th, 2024. Tonight we're pleased to have Pastor Ben Colson of the Popular Ridge Church of the Brethren to come open us in prayer. Welcome, sir. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Would you pray with me? Lord, thank you for another day to live and enjoy your beauty, to enjoy your creation, to enjoy one another. And I'm so thankful, Lord, for public servants who give of themselves, who give of their time to serve their community, to serve their fellow neighbors. Lord, I pray your blessings upon them. I pray your wisdom and guidance, that they would seek your face and that you would give them wisdom in the decisions they make. Thank you for this time of year, Lord, in the summer where we get to enjoy being outdoors more and the good times that brings. Please watch over those who couldn't be here, bring them back to us safely, and just thank you once again for this time to gather and discuss the business of Defiance. We love you, Lord. Through Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Let the record show that all members of council are present with the exception of President McMasters. We'll have a motion to excuse President McMasters tonight. So moved. Josh, second. Ms. Crutch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We stand in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looks like we have some minutes to approve, so here we go. Read the index minutes for May 28th meeting. Do we have any additions or corrections? If not, we'll approve them as presented. And also the minutes from the June 4th, 2024 meeting. Again, any additions or corrections? And we'll approve those as presented. And June 11th, 2024, again, any amendments or corrections? No? Okay, we'll approve those also. All right, do we have any liaison reports or requests tonight? Okay, seeing none, any comments from council? Mr. Mast.
I just wanted to, real quick, just kind of give a thank you to the various citizen volunteers that comprise our boards and our commissions who give up their time to help the city get their business done at various times. And I say this in light of last week's planning commission meeting, where I was here in attendance, and frankly, some of the behavior I think was just a little uncalled for. And if you're going to show up to these meetings, I just remember that these people do volunteer their personal time to help us get things done, and finger pointing and questioning people's judgment, and it's just not appropriate. And I'd rather people didn't show up if they're going to bring that kind of behavior with them. So just remember, we need those people. And if you make it that hard on them, less and less people are going to volunteer, and we're going to have trouble getting things done. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Mr. Waxler.
Yeah, I've had some calls on trees and bushes over sidewalks. Mm-hmm. And I had one today, and I went down and looked at in the corner of Arabella and Jefferson, be the north west corner. I think it's an apartment complex or something. You can't even get down that sidewalk on Arabella. They're clear out across it. So
Yeah, any of those that you get, send them to me right away, and I will get somebody out to. I mean, it's that time of year,
Yeah.
especially with the heat that we're getting, and then now we're getting some rain. Stuff is going to shoot up and grow. So any of that stuff that any of you receive, please send that to me right away.
These are actually the big bushes, so they're
Okay.
gonna have to be cut back.
Yep.
I mean,
That's fine. So just let me know right away.
all right.
Any other comments, Mr. Hancock?
Yes, last week I had an opportunity to spend some time with our local economic development group, during their manufacturing day. I just want to say that it was a great time and it was well organized, and I wanted to thank the sponsors for that organization, because, we had about 50 countywide students, and, the experience was even welcoming and learning for myself as well, but it was very nice program.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. Mrs. Crutch?
With Jefferson soon to be torn up and ripped up, people will be driving down Wayne Avenue. So if they could watch the speed on Wayne Avenue, that would be much appreciative. And then also, this Sunday is Art in the Park. So hopefully people will be heading down to the fairground or to the fort grounds. And then also at Pontiac Park is the River Fest. So there's a couple big things going on this weekend. So hopefully people will come out.
Very good.
Just with the mention of the economic development, I just wanted to say, great job by Erica and her crew on the installation of the flag out there at 24. And it looks great, and I think it'll really shine for the city and the rest of them. I can't wait to see them go up.
Then I hear another one was going up relatively quickly.
That's the word.
Yeah, that's the word. Any other comments from council? On to the administration, Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So as I often do, shirt tailing off of stuff that you guys had mentioned already. One is to touch on Riverfest. In the forecast, we do have possibly some rough weather coming in on Saturday. So early in the morning, we will be evaluating whether to try to bump it to another time, whether to scrap it altogether, depending on what the weather looks like once we get closer to that day. So just stay tuned for that. And then on to the Jefferson Street water line, as you mentioned, Councilwoman Crutch, it was supposed to start today. The inclement weather drove it off. So tomorrow, anytime now, it will be starting. Starting at Down Street on the south end, moving north, different sections at a time will be closed off while they work on it. Those sections will be opened up back at night, and they'll be open on the weekends. But while they're working on it during a workday, those sections will only be open to the residents who live there, or if there's a business, it'll be open to get in and out of the business. So there'll be some traffic issues, once this starts. The other caveat to that is once they get to the viaduct, the whole viaduct will be closed the entire time because we have to get into the middle of the street. We're gonna work on some of that drainage that we consistently have issues with. But that'll be later on in July likely. But that project will be starting tomorrow or the next day, very soon here. So I just want people to be aware. I want all of you to be aware of it. And that's all I have right now. Mr.
Any
President.
finish date on that project?
Do not. I mean, we've already been bumped one day for weather,
Oh,
so we'll
weather.
see how it goes. Yeah.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Nothing from me, Mr. President Pro Tem.
Okay, thanks. Mrs. Sprague?
I just have two purchase orders, both for streets. 2024-01125 National Gas, Oil and Gas, for fuel, $15,129.48. And the other one for streets, 2024-01136 Ohio Asphalt Paving, miscellaneous paving for $20,000.
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's it, thank you. We do have two items on the agenda, so when Ms. Elders is ready, she'll read the first one.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance adopting the amended Part 11 of the codified ordinances of Defiance, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Thank you. As I think most of, not all of you know, this has been an ongoing project for over a year as far as the planning and zoning code itself. But over 2 years, maybe 3, if you consider that this endeavor began with the community comprehensive plan efforts. I believe Mrs. Crutch was a part of that. And it was geared towards aligning our land use policies and land use plan with the goals of that comprehensive plan that your constituents and you ultimately adopted last September. You should have this proposed code in your Dropbox, but I'll just give you like an hour and 45-minute lecture on all of the changes to the code with the council's indulgence. First of all, and I'll be a little more brief. First of all,
Can you make it through all 259 pages for us?
yes, yeah, so it removes all references to the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals, the BZBA. You may recall that last charter review amendments, 2019, the electors voted to do away with the BZBA, consolidate those tasks and responsibilities, granting or considering variances, gave that to the Planning Commission to make the development review process a little more streamlined. This goes a little bit farther, we'll delve into in a minute, but yeah, you'll see that those references are gone. They've been reassigned, those duties have been reassigned to the Planning Commission. Would you please turn to page 239?
I can't see that far.
Yeah. So this is an issue that came up with the passage of issue 2 last November regarding marijuana facilities, dispensers, and cultivators. And, okay, I have it in my book. I have a hard copy. And as you all know, the voters of the state of Ohio approved the recreational use of marijuana and THC products for adults 21 years and older. And that's the use, again, it's the use, possession, and transportation of marijuana obtained through facilities approved by the state of Ohio Department of Commerce. And most importantly, most importantly, these do have to be from facilities are approved and regulated through that Department of Commerce. There's some home grow provisions in the new Ohio Revised Code section that the General Assembly is in the process of adopting. But for your purposes, you should know that the legislative authority of a municipal corporation is expressly permitted by majority vote to adopt zoning restrictions to either prohibit or restrict the number of adult use cannabis operators permitted under this new legislation. And when we talk about marijuana facilities in this code, and by that we mean adult use cannabis operators, adult use cannabis cultivators, dispensaries, processors, and testing laboratories. What we've done in this code is assign them to one particular zoning district. And that zoning district, if you go to the well, I'll just tell you, it's probably can't see the chart up there. The zoning district is the M3 general industrial districts. So if you think like major industries or major manufacturing facilities, not unlike what council did with adult-oriented businesses maybe a decade or two ago. That's where this proposed code would assign those facilities, would permit those facilities with certain standards. Those standards being that these facilities cannot be located within 500 feet of residential areas, schools, churches, public parks, playgrounds, or public libraries. That's also in the Ohio Revised Code. We're just implementing it in the Planning and Zoning Code as well under this proposed code. So that's marijuana facilities, how we're proposing to deal with those. Again, there's an option to outright prohibit them. However, you should know there's a risk if you prohibit them. There's some language in the ORC as well as issue 2 itself that a majority of the residents of the community could petition to undo those prohibitions, in which case they could potentially be anywhere. So we're proposing to limit them to the M3 general industrial districts and move on with the code. So if you go to Madam Clerk, page 114, and I'll do that as well. This is regarding the planned unit development districts, and specifically the processes. The last 2 or 3 projects we've had, Mr. President Pro Tem. I know you've sat through some of the Planning Commission meetings, and some of the others that the rest of you have as well. We found that they're very cumbersome. Development is very cumbersome. An applicant comes with just kind of a proposal for a planned unit development. Currently it has to go through Planning Commission. Has to go through City Council for preliminary plan approval. And then once council approves the plan, it has to come back to Planning Commission for final plan approval, and again, back to City Council for ultimate approval for any planned unit development. We felt that was cumbersome. Some of the developers have had trouble dealing with that, and so what we're proposing is to combine that process so that a developer really only has to come to Planning Commission one time with what's called just a development plan, and then to City Council one time, development plan. And I know Mr. Grisdell spoke briefly about that when he went over that with you maybe about a month or so ago. It's consistent with other municipalities, other jurisdictions, and really doesn't hold up projects unnecessarily. The upshot, though, is that the applicants would have to come forward with basically their final plans, and Planning Commission will have to either give it an up or down recommendation to council. Council would just have to give it an up or down vote. And the way this code, these proposed amendments address that is by requiring a meeting with the Planning Commission clerk and the zoning commissioner before the application gets to the Planning Commission, so that they can review it and say, no, you need to do this, you need to do that, or you need a survey, or you need to account for this wetland delineation, and then that hopefully we will get a more polished product by the time it goes to Planning Commission and City Council. So we're not approving things with all these stipulations, which I know you've seen at some of the Planning Commission meetings. So that's the plan unit development updates. And then if you would turn to page 193, this is the everybody's favorite topic is the sign code. And that one, from the legal standpoint, my concern, and I know my predecessor expressed concerns about that, was there were a number of content-based speech restrictions contained in the, not this sign code, but the existing sign code. Those have been removed. Some of the sign code restrictions in the central business district have been either relaxed or streamlined to make them more in line with some of the other areas of the city, but also to keep their kind of quirky aspect that Mr. Grisdell was discussing about a month ago. Those are basically the highlights of this code. Happy to entertain your questions. Of course, it doesn't have to be passed tonight. There are a number of projects in the pipeline that this will impact. But you're welcome to review this, ask us questions about it. If you need another week or so. But yeah, this was a lot of work and we waited a long time for this, and we sure hope that it pays off.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Mr. Mass?
Mr. O'Donnell, there's section 1165.1.0 or 0.10 B5A. I don't know if that looks the same on yours.
Sorry, 1165.10
B5A. On mine, it is missing information. Is yours?
Yes, we will. And I have that as well.
Is that in the book? I didn't know if
Yeah.
that was just on the copy. There's some code there that appears to be referencing that's not in.
Yeah, that must have been the consultant's computer program. What we'll do is we can insert those subsections. That's not a hard change. They're basically asking for the central business district boundaries, and yeah, we can put those in. That's But no, thank you for pointing that out.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Well, my other question was, it came to us as an emergency ordinance. Is there something that's stipulating that as such, or is that?
No, I mean, the real, well, I will say, I mean, the marijuana legislation is fast moving through the state. The Department of Commerce Division of Cannabis Control is already approving applications. So, you know, for the sake of clarity and the law, that was my recommendation. But also for both pending development projects and development projects that we're discussing. Some have NDAs, some don't, but they're about to start. We just recommended it for clarity, so we just don't have a planning and zoning code hanging out there for 30 days, and then we have to tell the people, oh, well, it's going to change. And then there's some, you know, people trying to comply with the sign code, saying, well, which one do I, comply with? So just I think for ease, it's certainly within your prerogative to find that to be an emergency. It's up to council for that, or to say, you know what, I don't want it to be an emergency. Let's have the old code for another 30 days.
Yes, Ms. Gretchen.
Okay, I'm going to the public art one. If you go to 1179.11, public art.
What page, please?
Page 211.
Thank you.
I like everything that was written here as far as the permits. My question was on A, it says all proposed public art must be reviewed by the zoning commissioner, which I understand, and the board of control. And I didn't understand why the board of control, no other parts had the board of control in there, and then the recommendation approval forward to the city council. Most things were the zoning commissioner right to our planning commission and then to city council. And I didn't understand why planning commission wasn't a part of that and board of control was stepping into that position.
My we did discuss that. My recollection of that was planning commission only meets once a month. They can certainly meet more often, but and then some months, because of, again, Mr. Mass pointed out, they're volunteers. They have other obligations. It's hard to get a quorum. So there was the desire not to leave these proposed public art projects in limbo for a month, 2 months. Find a way to streamline that approval process, but also keep council in the loop, keep them apprised of some of the public art projects.
Because it would still come to council then for
Correct.
approval, correct? So it's just taking the planning commission part out. Then also, in the signage, I know we had discussed at the planning commission meeting about 25% of the windows not being covered, and I didn't see that in there, and I didn't know if that was changed in the central business district. I might have missed it, I've read it through, but and if that was just in the central business district or was it all over town, because I know many of the businesses are not in compliance right now with that window covering, and I know it's for the safety for the fire department that they would be able to see inside the building.
Mhm.
But I couldn't find it. But I also know during planning commission, it was discussed a lot.
Right.
That, you know, they kept going back and forth if they should make it less or if they should make it more or scratch it, and I didn't know if that was something that was scratched, but I felt like maybe the new fire chief might want to know a little bit more about that section because of the windows being covered with those, what do we call it?
Screens.
The screens or the wraps or whatever.
Yeah, we may have taken that out. I'm not seeing it either, Mrs. Crutch. And I don't want to speculate why that was taken out, other than, you know, we were trying to make it a little bit more user-friendly for
Right.
signs.
You know, so I didn't know if that's going to be a hindrance for some of those businesses that do have more of the windows covered, what the fire department's going to do when they go and check on those buildings. I don't know, I just am afraid that if we don't have something in there and have the zoning commissioner checking those issues, it could cause more problems.
I will tell you that there's provisions in here of like existing signs, existing buildings. This is prospective. It's from
Right.
here forward. So anything that we did put in, that council did opt to put in there as far as, and really any zoning restriction would be forward looking. We certainly don't want to get a regulatory taking or some kind of claim like that.
All right, that's all I had.
Mr. O'Donnell, I don't know if it's the same thing you're talking about. A window sign that does not exceed 10 square feet in the area and does not cover more than 25% of the area of the
Yeah.
window.
Where's that at?
It's chapter 1179, sign standards, and it is F,
What section though? 1179 point
section, 05.
05. Okay. We were at 07.
And it'd be letter F. I'm not sure if it's the same thing you're talking about.
I just know that that was a big discussion, and I know that Rex was really adamant about watching that because of the fire safety issue.
Yeah, and that section's, that just means that if you have a sign that does not exceed 10 square feet and not covering more than 25% of the area
Oh,
of the window, then you don't require a sign permit.
Gotcha.
So
That's
Well,
where the
then
that's where
permit,
that comes in.
C actually says too, where the window signs are permitted, such signs shall not occupy more than 25% of the window area.
So it's in there.
okay,
Yeah, right. Oh, and 1179.07.
thank you,
Yeah, that, so Mr. Crutch, it looks like that did not change.
yeah, okay.
Any other questions or comments from council?
No further question, we'll suspend the
We have a
call.
motion to suspend the call from Mr. Waxler. Do I have a second? Mr. Yoresti, second.
Mr. Hancock,
No.
Mr. Rusty,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
No.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch,
No,
Mr. Engel,
No.
and Mr. Corbett.
Yes.
We don't have enough, we
Yeah,
gotta
it's
let it
not-
lie, or
Not adopted through emergency.
Yeah, they could let it lie, or they could refer it to a committee or a member. So they have some options.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Motion to let this lie for
We have a motion to let lie. Do we have a second, Mr.
Second.
Hancock?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll let this lie. On to the next one.
first reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a replacement pump for the Kingsbury lift station and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mack,
Thank you, Mr. President. Off of zoning and on to sewer pumps.
there you go.
So currently, there are two large hydromatic pumps at the Kingsbury lift station. We were informed some time ago that those large pumps that are kind of a linchpin within our system are no longer manufactured. Since then, we have had parts machined, we have parts that we've had to scrounge around to find, to make sure things are operating correctly. Last year, during the budgeting process, we asked, to have it put in the budget that they replace at least one of them. Got that approved. So, this was budgeted for. The pump that we are looking to replace it with is a 121 horsepower KSB pump at a cost of $90,000. So we are asking for council's approval to start that process of changing those pumps out. The one that we are changing out, we will keep to use the spare parts for on the one that we have not replaced yet, and likely come to you for next year's budget to replace the other pump.
What was the budget? What did we budget for that originally?
It's $75,000. So Mark is going to clear out a couple of smaller projects to make up the difference, to cover the cost for it.
Any questions or comments from council? Mr. Math?
No further questions, motion to suspend and call.
We have a motion to suspend and call. Mr. Engel, second.
Mr. Rusty,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock.
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett.
Yes.
Motion adopted.
Mr. Waxler, motion to adopt. Second, Mr. Mass.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock.
Yes.
Mr. Rusty,
Yes.
and Mr. Corbett.
Yes. Okay, this ordinance is adopted. Would be time for public concerns, and I don't see anybody out there. Did anybody get any emails they'd like to share tonight? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.